Yeah, here with JC Baillie. He's the founder, CEO of Quark, who is doing Dual Universe, and he just told me at GDC he is building the universe with he just told me that he's building the Metaverse with Dual Universe. So why don't you tell me, JC, how you define the Metaverse and why Dual Universe is the Metaverse?
Well, you know, everyone, I guess, has his own definition, so I will not pretend that this is the definition. This is our definition. We think that it's important that you are immersed into a world that feels real, you know, with spatial-temporal continuity. You have planets. If you go into a high altitude, you can start to see the planet. And of course, there is also the technology that allows potentially millions of people to be all together, sharing this this persistent reality all together. So that means that you can start to do an economy, commerce, trading. Of course, there is also conflict, combat, territory, politics, exploration. So it fleshes the whole thing into something that feels real, that feels like the real universe, but it's the dual universe. So that's where it comes from, and that's what we call the Metaverse. Is something more like the Matrix, like you connect to it and it feels real. You recognize all sorts of things that you have in the real world, and you can become a hero in this world, because of course it's bigger than life. Of course you can do more than you would do in the real world. In the real world, if you want to go to another planet, you can. You probably have to spend your life doing that and be Elon Musk or something like that. So yeah, you can, but it's going to be very hard. You can do that in your universe way easily. So it's a way to actually live adventures, experiences, but not alone, but within a world that is populated by potentially millions of other players. So that's would be my definition. It's creating another universe where you can connect and live adventures all for yourself.
And you talk about the economy. Will you have a transfer between the dual universe currency and real currency, and you can make money?
No, that's not the plan. The way we see it is that we'd like to have, you know, when you get inside your universe, you are in a world that is about entertainment. You're there to have fun. You know, you disconnect with the real world, the real money and everything. We have a currency, of course, in the game. You can use it, and you can become very rich within the game. Means that, okay, maybe you'll be able to influence. You're going to be able to, you know, I don't know, to finance wars, you know, and whatever. I mean, you can be kind of an influential character and influence the experience potentially of thousands of players. So it's meaningful, you know, to become super rich in dual universe, but it's not going to get you any real cash in the real world. I think it will impact the experience of the game to do that. If you play poker, for example, with friends, and you play with fake money, or you play with real money, even small amounts, you will see that it's not at all the same game. Suddenly it changes completely the behavior of people. So having real money involved is impacting the experience, and we believe that it's better that it remains something that is, you know, not connected to real cash, sort of a fantasy universe where you can, you know, forget about, you know, your real life.
Right. Well, that brings up another question. Dual Universe is set in kind of a science fiction future. Could people play Dual Universe and play it as, for example, a fantasy-based, like they could take over a planet and make it medieval era?
Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. We're thinking about it, not at the moment, but what it would take to do that, at least at the first level, you know, it would be simply for us to add some more assets within the game. Like, you know, you have doors, for example, already in the game. They are more, all of them are science fiction doors, you know, like gliding and so on. We could very well add some wooden doors and all sorts of assets like that that are associated to medieval environment, for example, and that will be fine. You will be able to build a castle that really looks like not at all a science fiction oriented setup, right? So that's very easy for us to do. The only thing we have not yet figured out is, suppose you have a medieval planet, so everybody is living this medieval type of gameplay, that's all fine. And then there's a battleship that comes in the atmosphere. How do you connect those two things? Right?
Right.
So, there are all sorts of ideas. We have ideas, but it's not set already how we could do that. So, but like there's nothing in Dual Universe that would force people to be necessarily in sci-fi. Now, sci-fi is interesting because it allows you to build spaceships, to avoid you can go from one planet to the other using this technology, so it makes sense. Why do we have planets? Many planets, because we need to be able to expand, the real estate of the game. So that I think is a nice, consistent way to do that. Adding more planets as time goes on. So all this is consistent with the idea of a sci-fi setting. Yeah.
Right. And we discussed this before, is the idea that people could stay within the safe planets.
Oh yeah.
And just create kind of an creative community, maybe in fashion and so on.
Absolutely, yes. There's a notion that is very important, is that there are what we call safe zones. First of all, there is one around the spawn point, the starting point for everyone, so that's a totally safe zone. You're not going to be sniped as soon as you get inside the game. And besides that, there will be entire moons they're called sanctuary moons, that will be without any PvP. So that's bringing a peace of mind for players who are not into combat and so on. And yes, indeed, possibly this is the places where we might actually witness some artistic creations and things that are not at all about combat, about any of those things. Because we have very powerful tools, in the game to actually sculpt matter and create shapes the way you want. And already, as I speak, some players have made some astonishing sculptures, creations that are very beautiful. So we might be surprised to see, what people are going to make that are artistic and not at all. Maybe there will be art exhibits.
Right.
That is something we'll be very happy to observe emerging in the game.
Right. Well, speaking of fashion, I noticed all of the avatars are sort of wearing spacesuits. Are we going to see realistic humans?
Yeah, we have not yet, started to work on that aspect. Of course, we are an MMORPG, so you need to be able to have different outfits and to look good. If you're the Emperor, for example, you need to be able to buy, super nice, suit and things. So this is coming. We have not worked on that yet. So yes, at the moment, all the players look the same, and there's nothing really to say about it, but this is going to come later.
Okay. I noticed you have HTML as people can, and also people can script in Lua. Do you see a time where people can actually go into Dual Universe not only to play games with each other, but to actually log onto the internet in the real world? We're good.
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting addition to the game. The game is about creating things. So we have all sorts of tools that are about building structures, building spaceships, and so on and so on. So we could call that super powered Minecraft, because it's not just cubes, you can sculpt. Right. But on top of that, yes, indeed, you can also put a screen somewhere and inject some code in it so that you can display any sort of HTML on it. This is, just to clarify, this is not the goal of the game, and a very, very, very small amount of players are going to do that, but it's a possibility. Because there is an economy, you can always, mass produce whatever you've done and sell it to other people. So if someone does something amazing with that, with Lua scripting and HTML and so on, then everybody can benefit, because they just have to, copy it and put it on the market. So that's just to clarify. This is not something we expect most players are going to do. Now, could you display a web page? Yes, technically, there's no problem. We've done that, like Google displayed on the screen inside Dual Universe. That works. The question is more a question of moderation and being sure that this is not abused. So right now we have disabled certain of those functions for that reason. But we'll see how we can, how far we can push, how we can moderate that and make it possible, nevertheless, to get access to certain areas that are, on the web that are okay.
Right.
So this is not. We don't have all the answers, but yeah, the technology for sure allows you to browse on the screen within the game. That's pretty cool.
That's fascinating. How big do you see this realistically becoming in terms of users? How many people will enter the Dual Universe?
Well, we have our big ambitious dreams, talking about millions of players. We'll see. If you look at games like, for example, EVE Online. I think at some point they were close to 500,000 players.
Yeah.
Possibly because, of all the things we said, the artistic aspects, the exploration, the fact that you can build stuff. So there's a bit of Minecraft niche thing in it. I think we have a potential to go beyond that in the long run. It took a lot of time for Eve to reach there, and Eve is a huge game. We're far from it, but yeah, that's possibly something we can hope for. We'll see. So this is. If it works as I hope, then there will be a lot of viral marketing, people inviting their friends, building things together, so that can grow and be in the millions of players. That's what we hope.
Right. And if you want the true vision of the Oasis or Metaverse, then we're talking literally billions of people. Do you think that's
yes. Well, that's inevitably is going to take a lot of time. 5-10 years if that happens. Yeah, that will be super cool. We'll see. That's just the beginning. But in principle, what we're doing is designed for that. So that's where we could get one day.
Right.
That's the ambition. But you realize what that means. I mean, billions of people. When you look at World of Warcraft, and there are 10 million people peak at the best. Talking about being basically 100 times bigger than World of Warcraft.
Right.
Okay, we can hope for that one day, but the path to go there has to be forged, and there are lots of challenges ahead before we can talk about something like that. But yeah, in our dreams, this is the thing. We all are big sci-fi fans. We watch Ready Player One, the Oasis, and Snow Crash, and everything. So of course, that's what we dream about. But let's already start by making a great game.
Right.
With maybe 1 million player, that will actually be a huge success, and it's a huge ambition. It's very, very difficult to achieve. We'll see what we can do there from there.
Okay. What do you hope? Let's assume you're successful and Dual Universe becomes quite large, 3 million people at least, or even more. What do you hope it does? How do you hope it changes the real world?
It depends also on the time scale we're talking about, but the first question would be to ask, how is the real world going to evolve by that time? What you observe is that there's, over time, in history, there's been a decreasing number of hours spent on working. So, the gradual decrease of the time spent in your life doing work versus doing entertainment or leisure or free time. I see this continuing, this trend is continuing based on the progress of AI, automation, robotics. We perhaps going to witness revolution on that level. And the world as we know it is going to be changed profoundly within 10, 20, 30 years, I don't know. But this is going to bring the time, the entertainment time, that is the time you can spend in the virtual world doing fun stuff with your friends, learning also things. You can learn about programming in Dual Universe, you can learn about all sorts of things, about physics and so on. So this part of your time will be increasing, I think, over the years. I think the entertainment industry is going to be the biggest the biggest industry in the world. It is already one of the biggest, maybe the biggest, but I mean, it's going to keep growing and being more and more important in the life of everybody. So that is creating opportunities for platforms like Dual Universe, where you don't just play a game and play a session and that's it, and you're gonna play another game. You're building a story with your friends, with yourself. You're building, you're building your castle. It's your place. You have invested yourself into this world. So that could actually get people to spend a lot of time into this world, making friends, making things together, exploring things. Mm-hmm. We'll see. That's a possibility.
So that under that vision, instead of people consuming as much passively TV, film, social media, they're going to be in Dual Universe, being entertained there, and also creating. And
that's exactly the vision I have. Is that what I want is that the experience of playing Dual Universe is something meaningful, something where you're gonna learn, where you're gonna transform yourself by the things you learn. If you're running an organization of 1,000 players, you're doing some serious management stuff and you acquire some serious skills. Right? This is a serious thing. If you're building a giant ship that involves a lot of engineering, you're learning stuff. If you're programming in Dual Universe, you're learning stuff, etc. So the idea is that it's something that is meant to be something that enriches you, that brings you to discover new things, and not just, as you said, a passive experience. That's the ambition we have. The notion of meaningful experience is central to what we do. In particular, if you win a battle in your universe, you might actually change the political landscape underneath, because you've allowed a certain organization to take control of a planet, and that's going to impact thousands of other players. If you design a great spaceship that becomes a big hit, you're going to influence also thousands of other players. If you discover a new planet, you're going to influence, open new opportunities for all the others. So that is a definition of meaningful experience, or even real experience in a sense, right? So that's what we are after, creating something that is more than just, if you kill the bad guy in any of your single-player story-driven game, which I love by the game, so by the time, I'm really a big fan of those games,
right.
But you're not really accomplishing anything because it's meant to be achieved, and it's probably achieved by millions of other players. So you've not really accomplished anything. You had fun, and that's good, and I'm totally in. But it's a different story when you're actually doing that into an unscripted environment where everything you do is up to you, and you're competing about all these other people around you who are humans like you. So that's another level.
If it gets that large, I can see it impacting the real world. For example, because of the separation of language, I imagine Russian players will hang out with Russian players, French, English, and so on. So if there's a Russian planet versus a French and English planet, and the Russians get defeated, I can see them wanting to take it out on the real world.
I think it's pushing it a bit too far. Maybe
It happens now, right? It happens in MMOs.
Yeah, maybe, but I think I don't think so. I don't think so. Rather, everything we just take the current world and we push it to the future. We're always wrong. For example, you say the language is going to be a way to divide people. Maybe there will be automatic translator that do it in real time, and nobody cares, and everybody speaks the same language. So Russian is just like a French guy. It's the same thing, and you become friends with them, and then actually bounce people. I don't know. I could also make the case for the opposite, right? It's not that I'm just saying that it's difficult to envision what this could happen. What is true is that what happens today in MMOs is that it can become a place for propaganda and people trying to get inside those games to recruit.
Right. It happens now.
Yes, that is a concern. We're going to be very vigilant about that. Anything related to real-world politics or religion or things like that will be strictly forbidden. So you go into dual universe to escape into another, imaginary world. There is no place to discuss the real-world politics or
no real-world politics in dual universe.
There will be dual universe politics.
Right.
You get me? I mean, there will be nations, and they will be fighting, and they will be betraying each other, and everything you want. But someone's going to mention a real politician or something like that in the game. That's going to be bad.
There's going to be bad.
Yeah,
that's really provocative, because that means you're going to take a very sort of totalitarian control over free speech, right? Because people can't discuss politics like when it's on their mind and so on.
You are in the year 10,500 and something. No one remembers about, I don't want to give a name, but any of your favorite politicians. They are dead and buried for 10,000 years.
We still talk about Caesar and Cleopatra and so on, right?
Fair enough. But let's say that for technical reasons, all the memory has been wiped out, whatever you want. But
Donald Trump is no longer remembered in the dual universe.
Let's, you know that this is this divisive topic, so I don't see any real reason why this should be a matter that is discussed in the virtual world that is taking place in the future. We're here for fun. It's just like imagine you go watch the next episode of Star Trek and they start to talk about Donald Trump. What's the point? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So we'll see. But I mean, my idea is that this should not be topics that are discussed. And yeah.
So a true dual universe is separated from reality. Well, this is quite fascinating. We'll definitely have to talk with you more in future. Well, you're hoping to see it come out in, next year, right? Some version?
Yes. yes, there's the things coming. We have lots of updates on the way. One of the most important one is the combat system. So we hope to be able to showcase it soon. We're working on it. It's going to be unlike, as far as I know, unlike most of all the things I've seen in gaming. It's going to be very interesting, new ideas. And the beta is still scheduled for next year, first half of next year. We'll see. So that's going to be, that's our roadmap.
Very good. Well, we'll have to talk to you more then.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.